Hey guys, Rexasaur here, and welcome to the next episode of Total War Warhammer Lore, where today we'll be looking at the Wood Elves. Now, before I go on into this, I would like to give my thanks to Brecht Tom. His channel will be in the description below, for giving me all the information required for the Wood Elves. The next episode, Tomb Kings, will also be given information by him. So he's done a lot of work so that I have to do a bit less work, but it gives you more correct information. So, the Wood Elves. Now I'm just going to go through this. It's slightly scripted. It's more of a bullet point kind of format, but it gives you all the essential information and a bit of backstory to them. So the Wood Elves, were also called Azrai, were once High Elves who lived in the island of Ulthuan. In ages past, these High Elves colonized the coastline of the Old World, where men now reside. So these are like the Empire and Bretonnia. The High Elves and the Dwarves were trading partners and profited greatly. However, an elf named Malekith sundered himself from the High Elves. He wanted to be Phoenixkin, the Dark Elf story. While still disguised as a High Elf, he led some Dark Elves to raid the Dwarf trading caravans. The Dwarves sent diplomats to Calador II, who was then the reigning king, to ask what happened. He was a bit of an asshole, apparently, and cut off the diplomats' beards. This started a war between the High Elves and the Dwarves, aptly named the War of the Beard. The Dwarves were generally winning the war, even killing Calador II, but the High Elves were standing firm. The Dwarves were raging through forests, cutting down trees to fuel their fires, and many nature-loving elves took the forest to their defence. However, it was at this time that Malekith decided to split off for real and cause a civil war. The next Phoenix King, Caradriel, who was called the Peacemaker, decided to abandon his colonies and focus on his homeland, Ulthuan, and gave all the colonies an ultimatum: to return home or to be abandoned. The elves that returned were the High Elves. The elves that stayed there were the Wood Elves. They since viewed the High Elves as traitors, and the Dwarves as enemies. This led to them becoming a very isolationist people. The Wood Elves were driven deeper into their forest until they came upon Athel Loren. They decided to make a pact with Athel Loren to live in it, in exchange for protection from marauding dwarves and beastmen. Athel Loren itself is a living, sentient entity. It's the oldest forest in the world and used to span across all of it. This is why it has an underground route network to many places in the world. It was probably awoken by the Old Ones or by the forces of chaos. It's a very dark forest full of spirits such as dryads and treemen, and has different realms inside it, in which laws of time differ. Some realms are in perpetual state of winter, for example. Outsiders could go into the forest and walk 20 minutes, only to find out they've gone for 20 years. The Wood Elves are ruled by their queen, Ariel, who is an avatar of the elven goddess Isha. They also have other gods, such as Orion, king of the woods, Cernunnos, master of the hunt, and Loek, the trickster god, which is a bit like Loki in Norse mythology. The Wood Elves are allied to the Bretonnians, though they don't allow men to come into their forest. In fact, any intruder is a dead man walking. This is why their main enemy are the beastmen. They spawn of chaos and corrupt the land, so they must be taken out before corrupting the forest. Now, there are basically two categories in the elf army of elf units. You have the elves, who are, the actual footmen and stuff, and you have the forest spirits, which represent the spirits such as the dryads and the treekin inside the forest itself. So the elves are described being watchful, vigilant, remaining unseen. They are expert marksmen, very mobile, and can shoot whilst moving, which is something that in the tabletop game is not very, common. They can also shoot from the back of mounts, whether it be horse, stags, because they ride stags, because forests, and warhawks, so they have some flying archers, which is not very seen, because a lot of flying units are very basically cavalry in the kind of way that they have swordsmen and lancers. Dragon knights, they kind of have like lances and stuff, things like that. Their melee units are very offensive, always striking first and as hard as possible. Things like war dancers and wild riders. Here's a picture of them now. They don't break the enemy though, which is when the trouble starts. All elven units are incredibly low toughness, so they're very easy to kill, because Wood Elves have almost no armor, and thus are extremely vulnerable to melee combat. It basically, the way I would see a Wood Elf army in being in the Total War kind of way would be similar to the Huns in Attila, or the Scythians in Rome 2, for example. They're the kind of marauding army, the kind of what do you call those? hit and run kind of army where you would fire everything, you fuck off, you fire everything back, you keep fucking off. Yeah, the kind of skirmish army. They're very, very skirmishy, and I would definitely see them as being very, very skirmishy in the Total War. However, they do have their hard hitters, forest spirits, which are basically just living trees in all shapes and sizes, like Ents in Tolkien's universe. They're sort of the counterpart to elves. They are very, very tough, although, you know, not much armor-wise in melee. Like, they can't take protracted melee, but they're tough enough to wipe out something in the first turn, kind of thing. Like, if they manage to get charged. That's not entirely true. They're not that powerful. But they're kind of lacking. I like the thing that Brett Tom actually wrote. He said, I say that, but I mean, getting stomped on by a tree is still going to kill you. But it's like, well, it's not going to kill enough of people. They've in the tabletop anyway, if you get charged by a unit of treekin, you're going to take a lot of damage, but they're probably not going to kill you off, and you're going to be able to strike back. And striking back, you're probably going to be able to take at least one of them down, which, in the terms of what you want them to do, is not really the best. The best way of using treekin would be to flank or to attack the rear, in a kind of hammer and anvil weird kind of thing. Think of them like trolls, but kind of weaker but slightly faster kind of thing. I don't know. But that's treekin, so they're okay. I mean, the whole point of the Wood Elf army is to be a mobile force that can shoot everything down, be faster than anything and run away faster, and then shoot everything more. And they are the best missile army in the game. I mean, that is not even debatable, I don't think. Personally, I think that they are the best melee missile cav kind of thing. Missile, oh, for God's sake, missile army. Magic-wise, Wood Elf wizards are now versatile, is what Brett Tom says, because in the tabletop they used to be really crap. Now they have access to all 8 laws of the Winds of Magic, and be able to use high and dark magic, which even high elves can't use dark magic. They're going to use high magic, I think. So they have access to a lot of Winds of Magic, which means their wizards are very versatile. They can use the 5 they want. They can use beasts, they can use whatever. They can use all the magic. That's pretty cool. So it means that the magicians will be able to do all kinds of funky stuff, and depending on how magicians work in Total War game, although a lot of what I've been reading, a lot about seeing, people do think that they're going to be the equivalent of advisors, or what are they called? The people on them, agents. They're going to be a type of agent which are going to be in your army, and depending on that, it'll work like offshore artillery. Like if in Fall of Samurai, if you had boats next to your army when you're in battle, you could call in bombardments. It'll be a bit like that, like having your army going on, and then your wizard, you'd have like a little tooltip of wizards spells that you can cast, which personally I don't think that's a bad thing, but it's kind of annoying that you don't get a little wizard just running around on the battlefield doing cool stuff. So there you have it. Wood Elves, they are very mobile, they are very fast, they do a lot of stuff. In the tabletop, they have one of the unique abilities of being able to bring trees to the field, as in literally a forest, a bit of terrain, which means that in Total War, it might be possible that one of their spells is to grow a forest out of fucking nowhere, which would be great, because I mean that's where Wood Elves get most of their power. If they're in trees, they get little bonuses, kind of thing. So that you might see that in the Total War game, maybe. For me, I think Wood Elves are really cool, but they're not my kind of army at all. I really don't like hit and run armies. I know a lot of people are looking forward to playing things like Wood Elves, because Wood Elves do have really awesome units, very cool looking and very nice. But for me, they're not my kind of army. But they might be your kind of army when they eventually arrive. Now, there has been a lot of discussion around Reddit forums and all that. That the first expansion is most likely the second iteration of Total War Warhammer is going to go down and have things such as Wood Elves, Tomb Kings, Bretonnia, Skaven, and then the final one is going to have the High Elves, Dark Elves, Lizardmen. So that does seem very probable to me as well. So these are probably, you're going to be able to see these faster and more in more recent times than you will the Lizardmen and whatever, which is annoying because I like Lizardmen more, but whatever. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much to Brett Thomer for sending me this. Hope I haven't yet, Brett. I've called you Brett, but you're Bretched. I do apologise. So anyway, thank you very much for everyone for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I will see you in the next video, which will be Tomb Kings. Ta-ra.